Reverend Du is going to download a PowerPoint that I gave him, but I can begin anyway without it. So, as I said in my sermon, the issue of pornography, I feel, is one of God's great headaches at this moment. 6 months ago, I thought the culture of America was doomed. 6 months ago. Because, and quite honestly, I felt like our church was doomed because of the issue of pornography. It's so vast. It's so horrible. And most of us, looking at your faces, most of us don't even know it's happening right under our noses. Most of us are clueless about this worst problem that is really Satan's ultimate attack on our own children. Our own blessed children are suffering with this. Suffering. Then the greater society and the culture of America and the whole world is under attack in a quiet way that most people don't even see. It's not very visible. So it's very, very serious. And I felt like in our church, I was the only person who was even interested in this. I literally couldn't even get people to talk about it. Oh, yeah, okay. But why I knew it was a problem, because I have all these young people who are coming to me. As I told you, 12 years ago, this one young fella told me, he said, I'm really struggling with pornography. And again, I thought he's talking about looking at Playboy magazine. But he told me, on the internet. This was before smartphones. But the internet brought pornography into everybody's house. Do you know 42% of the internet is pornography sites? The numbers of people who are looking at pornography sites are amazing. In America, 280,000 per second are looking at pornography. People on the internet after midnight, 97% of them are on pornography sites. So if your children are dealing with the internet at night, you can be pretty sure they're looking at pornography. They'll tell you they're doing their homework or, they're catching up on something, but it's pornography. Is that serious? So this first person who came to help me, to ask for my help, I didn't know what to say. You know what I said? I'm ashamed to say, but this is what I said to him. You need to pray harder. Because I was so ignorant. You just need to try harder. Do you know what that did to him? It crushed him. Because he felt even worse after talking to me. Because all I told him was, your life of faith is terrible. Obviously, you need to pray more. That didn't work. So I got serious with him, and over a period of time, I helped him to overcome pornography. And he got off it. And when I see him now, and when I see his wife, both of them always thank me. Thank you. They thank me for saving. This was before he was blessed, but she knows that without him having overcome, they wouldn't have had a blessing, and they wouldn't have their 2 children that they have. So he's always grateful. But he then told some other people. So 2 more came in, and 3 more, and then I started getting calls around the country. And I began to realize this is a huge problem. And then one time at our camp, summer camp, to high school, I strongly told all the boys I was talking to, we had boys' night and girls' night, I told all the boys, I know that you are being attacked. Thank you, Reverend Du. I know that you are being attacked with this. How many of you have looked at pornography in the last month? Almost every hand, not quite. Almost every hand went up. And I was shocked at that result. I was expecting half or Almost everybody, young boys. And this is going back 10 years now. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So when I speak to GPA, I usually give the GPA workshops and other workshops around the country. I always strongly tell them, I know that many of you are struggling with this problem. And the thing with pornography is it becomes an addiction. And the nature of addiction is you cannot overcome it by yourself. Very few people are able to overcome an addiction by themselves, right? You know, Alcoholics Anonymous, what they do, you have to have an accountability partner, a sponsor, they say, right? Because you've lost control yourself, somebody else has to keep you in control. So I realized that's what I need to do with these young people. I need to act as their accountability partner and keep them accountable to living a life of purity that they want. So I first of all have to build up trust with people because it's a shameful thing. Anybody who's doing pornography is ashamed already. Usually when I meet somebody and you know, they tell me they're struggling with pornography, I usually say, I really am sorry for you. You've been suffering with this. Because they've been suffering with the shame. And you know, they're all afraid that their mother walks in on them. Or their wife or their sister, you know. And by the way, it used to be I only knew boys doing pornography. That's changed completely. Now lots of girls are doing pornography. 30% of pornography use is by women now. It used to be 98% by men, but now it's 30% by women. And so now I'm getting young teenage girls who have this problem. And it's very, very serious. So I have to build up trust with them so they trust me. I also have to give them hope. Because many have tried and tried and tried. And by trying, you can overcome for 7 days or 3 days, or you know. But then you go back to it, and how do you feel? You feel even worse than before, because obviously I'm such an ugly, terrible person. I'm such a sinner. So, but I have to give them hope that you are not a sinner. You're not a terrible person. You've been grabbed by something that's terrible, and then I got to give them belief that you can overcome this, that you can get away from this. Our young people, especially second generation, have a strong conscience. So they know what's right and wrong. But knowing what's right and wrong doesn't mean you do what's right or wrong. You know, this thing with pornography is much stronger than just, you know, I should do what's right and wrong. It gets hold of people and makes them do things they don't want to do. That's what we call an addiction. An addiction is, I do something I don't want to do. Right? If you're an alcoholic, you keep telling yourself, I'm not going to drink anymore. And then you go drinking. And what do you tell yourself as soon as you sober up? I'm not going to drink anymore. And then you do it again and again. And after a while, you say, oh, forget about it. I'll just do it. Same with pornography, even more so. Pornography is more addictive than alcohol, more addictive than cocaine. It's the most addictive thing. Because if you think about it, it's God's original plan, twisted. Satan, according to the principle, Satan always gets to go first. So Satan always produces a false image that, you know, is based on what God would do, but with a twist. So pornography is like that. All young men and women naturally have a sexual desire. It's purely natural, right? Supposed to be there. Otherwise, we're not interested in each other. But this has got a twist to it. And that twist is that it's sex that you aren't supposed to have. It's not according to God's original plan. It's sex that is going to lead you to misery. It's sex that is going to lead you to a false understanding and a false way of getting off, excuse my language, but that's what it means. So I'm getting all these people coming to me. I got to figure out, how am I going to help them? I studied Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm amazed at Alcoholics Anonymous. Amazing program, helped a lot of people. So I thought maybe that's the way to go. But then I realized the divine principle must have the answer. I believe in divine principle, don't I? Where's the answer? So I figured this is the answer. What I get young people to do who have a pornography addiction, I get them to make a foundation of faith and a foundation of substance every day. A foundation of faith means faith in God's Word. So when people come to me, and as I say, I got 24 people today who are doing this program with me. I've had 80, 90 people go through it. I've had about 50% success rate, 50% not success. But what they all do is they must every day read God's Word. I start them off with reading Father's autobiography. You read one chapter of Father's autobiography. Foundation of faith is to have give and take with the Word of God. Foundation of faith involves reading the Word and reflecting upon the Word. Hundoke doesn't mean just reading the Word, it means reading and reflecting or studying. So I have them read the Word, then pray to God, what did I learn from it? Then, foundation of substance, I have them write out one paragraph, what did you learn from the reading? And what do they do with that? They send it to me every day. Text it to me. Some email. Most of them text it to me. My phone will be going off even as we're sitting here with people reporting to me. Because when you make a foundation of faith and a foundation of substance, that's a foundation for the Messiah. It means it's a foundation for God to come to you. That's basic spiritual restoration life, foundation of faith and substance. When you do that, and you've got somebody holding you accountable, i.e. me, then bit by bit you can gain strength. My goal is to get them 40 days porn-free. And I tell them, the goal is 40 days. After 40 days, you know what we're going to do? 40 more days. And after that 40 days, guess what we're going to do? 40 more days. Until you get 120 days porn-free. If they mess up on the 32nd day, you know, they look at porn. And by the way, when I say look at porn, it also means masturbation. Nobody's looking at porn and that's it. Porn and masturbation, they go together, right? It's a way of stimulating myself. So if they mess up on day 35 or something like that, then they write to me, I failed, I messed up. Then the next day becomes day 1. They start over. Because the goal is 40 days separation from Satan. 40 days is the magic number. And I've seen this over and over again. When you get to 40 days, you feel I've got power. I've got some strength over this. You kind of get cocky, you kind of get, relax, but you got to do another 40 day and another 40 day. But when you do it and you accomplish it, it's like you're separating from this thing. And again, you can get a lot of power from that. So, and I'm the accountability person. And I don't reply to them every day. If they miss and I don't get their text, then I'm on them. I jump on them. Hey, what happened? And I hold them accountable. You said you were going to do this. Let's do it. And if they mess up, I call them immediately because I don't want them getting depressed. I don't want them, giving up. I call them to encourage them. Okay, you didn't make 40, you got to 31 days. That's great. Let's offer it to God. Let's start again. Let's keep going. You can get 40 days. Everybody needs it, that kind of encouragement. That's the program that I work with these people. And as I was dealing with this, sometimes I would speak in groups about the pornography problem. Then first generation would come to me. I had this guy, I was at the STF workshop in Colorado, the parents' workshop, and I was hitting the kids strong with this. You got to deal with this. And then 3 parents came up to me later, all in their 60s, and said, I've been struggling with this my whole life. And what kind of marriages do you think they're able to create when they're dealing with this problem? Not an intimate marriage, I can tell you. It's a big, huge problem. It's a huge issue. So I'm dealing with some first generation who've been addicted since they were 15 years old, now in their 60s. And, struggling their whole time with this. How miserable. But even they can overcome. To bring it out of the shadows is the first step. Right? Father said we cannot exist in the shadow anymore. Time of no shadow. When pornography or anything like this is hiding in the shadow, you think nobody can see it. But God knows, Satan knows, and you know. That's all that matters. So anybody who's hiding pornography because nobody caught me, nobody found out, you're not hiding it, you're dealing with it. And you can't really deal with it until you bring it out and expose it into the light. Once it comes in the light, then God can work. I have so many stories about this. Wives, it's usually men who come to me. Wives usually feel like my husband is doing something. I don't know what it is, but there's something, we just cannot be intimate with each other. So wives spiritually feel it. And when they find out what the problem is, the wife usually feels right away, it's my problem. What do you think the wife feels? Huh? Inadequate, ugly. He obviously doesn't love me. Why would he be doing that if he loved me? I must be so repulsive to him. And I'm telling you, wives, it's got nothing to do with the wife. It has nothing to do. Actually, the husband often really loves the wife. But they've got this addiction going on. It's serious like that. And looking at pornography, this young girl, 15 years old, came to me a while ago and said, I came downstairs at 3 in the morning and I found my father looking at pornography. And she is devastated. Imagine finding that. She is devastated, feeling, her whole world is just falling apart. And of course, she hasn't done anything, but she just feels like there's no way I'm ever going to get married. If this is what my dad, who I love and respect, if that's what he's up to, forget about it. Another young person who I was helping called me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Fortunately, he was on the East Coast. 2 o'clock his time was 11 o'clock my time, or else I might not have taken the call. But I took the call, and he told me the FBI is in my house. He was looking at pornography on the internet over a long period, and the FBI thought that he was looking at child pornography. So they came to his house and confiscated his computers. And because if he had had any child pictures on that computer, he'd be in prison now. Unfortunately, he didn't. He wasn't looking, for child pornography. But when you look at pornography, one thing leads to another. You click on another one and another one and another one, and before long, you're watching things that you never intended to watch. You may have started off with just curious. Many people don't even start by looking for pornography. The kids are doing homework. They type in something, they make a spelling mistake, and up comes a pornography site. I don't know if it's the same now, but if you typed in whitehouse.com, because you're looking to do a research paper on the United States government, it used to be a porn site would come up. Because the real website is whitehouse.gov. So they're very sneaky in being able to manipulate young people to get them enticed. And the problem also is that porn is not real sex. It's not real sex. I say this, pornography it's like learning to drive by watching Fast and Furious. You know this this movie, Fast and Furious? About these crazy people who are driving, They're driving, but nobody learns to drive like that. Pornography externally is sex. But this isn't sex the way you're going to have sex with a wife. This is acting. People acting and doing terrible things that, they would only do for money. You're not going to do this, in real life. But many people get trained in their brain, this is what sex is. So this is what I expect my wife to do. Problem is, your wife's not going to do that. But you become trained. I'm dealing with one young couple, second generation couple right now. He's 30, 31, something like that. Been blessed about 2 years and been addicted to pornography since he was 16. He cannot have regular sex with a woman, with his wife, just regular sex. He can only have sex if he's watching pornography. So his wife came to me and said, what should I do? They tried. He cannot get stimulated because he's trained his brain that that's the way I get stimulated. Anything else, including his naked wife, doesn't excite him. You understand? It changes your brain patterns. And when you become addicted to pornography, here's the results. It makes a person into a sneaky person. Why are they sneaky? Because they're always hiding. They're always hiding a part of themselves. And even in marriage, then you're hiding from your spouse. So you become a sneaky person. A person who's not sneaky has nothing to hide. You may not like me, but this is who I am. A sneaky person, I look good in front of you, but I've got this secret over here. So you can get away with that with most people. You cannot get away with that with your husband or your wife. It makes you into a sneaky person. Also, many people think when I get married, it'll go away. I'm having this problem now, but I'm going to get married, and then it'll just go away because I'll have regular sex. But what did I just say? It doesn't go away because you already trained your brain what is sex. So you enter into marriage, and it's not stimulating enough. It doesn't go away because it's an addiction. If you have a terrible addiction, does it go away just by changing your circumstances? It follows you around. And wives of husbands like this really struggle about their own value. And how is this possible? Is my husband the worst person in the world? No, he's not. He's somebody who's Satan's got a grip on. But there's a good person there. We need to help him. Some wives help, others cut and run. I'm out of here. It's a big challenge. Also, when you're addicted to pornography, it's almost impossible to develop your faith in God. Almost impossible. Because, your faith in God gets eroded. Because you go and hear the word of God, but in the meantime, you're doing something over here. There's a breakdown, it's not real. You're not a person of integrity. You cannot stand in front of God. In fact, you usually come to blame God or God's representatives. Who's God's representative to a child? The parents or the pastor or somebody gets the blame. Because it's easier to blame than take responsibility. I try to teach our young people, God's original plan is the 4 realms of heart. The 4 realms of heart is that you are supposed to grow up as a child, receiving love from God through your parents. If you receive that love as a child, you grow up very healthy. If you don't receive that love as a child, what happens? You grow up with love deficiency. You're always looking for that love. So in the ideal sense, we're supposed to get it from our parents and from grandparents and aunts and uncles and feel secure at who I am. If I don't get that love, I look for it from other people, including other brothers and sisters, friends. We go through the 4 realms of heart: child's realm, brother and sister realm. Brother and sister realm is based on the child's realm of heart. If I have a secure relationship as a child, easier to make friends, easier to get along with my siblings. If not, then I'm looking to take from people, including from girls. Boys trying to take from girls. Trying to take what? Trying to take that which is not mine to have, their sexuality. Then, children's realm of heart, brother and sister realm of heart. Then we enter the conjugal realm of heart. Husband and wife, one man, one woman. But if you enter the conjugal realm of love and you haven't developed your heart as a child and as a brother and sister, you cannot make a good husband-wife relationship. It doesn't work. Because you then look at each other to take, what can you give me, rather than what can I give you? And it becomes a mess. With some certainty, I can figure out our young people whether they're going to be successful in the blessing or not. Based on how's your relationship to God, to your parents, and to elders. That's the child's realm of heart. And how's your relationship with people? Do you have good friends of all kinds? Or do you have a sense of rivalry with people? And especially, do you have this problem of sexual, trying to use people for your own benefit? If you have those problems, you enter husband and wife realm of heart, it doesn't work. And you go through the motions, you become a parent, but it gets passed on to the next generation. Do you know pornography is not just dealing with personal sin, it's dealing with ancestral sin and cultural sin. We get it from our ancestors. It's all around us in our culture. And then we get into it personally. It's a mess. So in the last 12 years, I had to get educated. All these young people are coming to me for help, and I don't know how to help them. So I read 25 different books. I took 3 different courses. I got certified as a trainer to help sex addicts. This is not something I planned to get into, and I've been doing this on the side. I didn't even tell my wife really what I was doing. She knew I was up to something, but I told her, don't ask too many questions. Just trust me, but But I'd go off to seminars. I spent a fortune trying to get educated on this stuff. And yeah, so how do I? Oh, which one? I did that.
You did it?
Yeah, it's okay. I'll do it by hand. So, a little while ago, I found out about a gathering of Christians who were trying to deal with this problem. It was called the Set Free Global Summit. And I heard about this conference. It was supposed to be about 100 people gathering to discuss this in North Carolina. Interestingly, North Carolina is the place at the center of this bathroom issue that's going on across the country, right? So I signed up months ago to go to this seminar when there was 100 people, but more and more people signed up for it. 200, 300, 700, 800 people signed up for this conference. They had to move the location twice. And what they found out was all over the country, there's lots of people working to solve this issue, but they've all been working in isolation, not even knowing about these others. So I signed up, and then I told one brother, David Wolfenberger, I'm going to this conference. He put the word out, then 40 unificationists signed up, including John. John went from the Blessed Family Department, and 40 out of 800 were unificationists. That's 5%. We were the biggest group in the whole conference. It gave me so much hope. Because for the first time I saw that, if we work together, if we unite, we can defeat this in our culture. There's hope, I felt. And this man, Josh McDowell, who's a very famous Christian, in any Christian church, everybody knows Josh McDowell. He's the one who put on the conference, or organized it. He spent $400,000 of his own money to do a comprehensive study of how pornography is affecting people in America. And he gave us this free book, a thick book of statistics. I don't like statistics myself, but if you're into it, some people are drooling over it. He did this study to show that this is a serious problem. In Christian churches, this thing is out of control. It's like a wildfire that nobody even recognizes. It's like the elephant in the room. There's an elephant, but nobody wants to speak about it. So he brought together these people from all over the country. And it was an incredible gathering of people of all kinds of faiths. And I've been to a lot of Christian conferences, and this was the first time I've ever seen Catholics allowed to speak. Usually, these Protestants don't want Catholics there. And Mormons. There was Mormons speaking. And the Moonies were the biggest group in the whole thing. So that gave me hope that, there's a chance for us to work together with people. And maybe we can solve this problem. But also, I felt hope that we were included. We could have a voice. So pornography comes from the Greek word, writing about prostitutes. Here's some facts about pornography. 42.7% of all internet users view porn. Oh, that's it. Thank you. The U.S. annual revenue is $13 billion. So it's a big industry. People ask, what's the motivation of the porn industry? Number one is money. It's a $100 billion worldwide industry. That's a lot of money. So there's some people getting super rich off this. So, you can see that they have a big interest to make it, accessible. Anybody know who this is? This is Satan incarnate. His name is Kinsey, Alfred Kinsey, that guy. So I won't go into a big, long discussion, but this guy in the 1940s, 1947, he produced a study, the sexuality of men, that has become the scientific groundwork of all sex classes across American universities. What they're teaching in universities is disgusting. Some of the things, I don't even want to talk about it. It makes me sick even to talk about what they're teaching, but it's based on his research. So this guy, he's homosexual, and he did research initially about homosexuality. Where did he go? Prison. He goes to prisons where people are in prison for life. Unfortunately, people in prison turn to pornography, to homosexuality very often. So that's who he studied. Then he started to study children and their sexuality. And this is what we learned at this conference. That this guy was doing experiments on little children to see how many times a day they could have an orgasm. Starting with 12 years old, then 8 years old, then 4 years old, then babies. His thing was, we are born looking for sex. So he was doing these experiments with babies to see how many times in one day they could have an orgasm. And in his research, it says that the baby kept crying. The baby was in agony, but I had to keep going. This is child abuse of the worst possible kind. And this is the science upon which our human sexuality classes across America are being taught. And Alfred Kinsey, two of his disciples, this guy, right? What's his name? Hugh Hefner. And the other guy, Harry Hay, they were disciples of Kinsey, who took upon themselves, Hugh Hefner, I'm going to promote pornography. In 1953, he got the Supreme Court to rule that pornography is a free speech issue. Until then, there was no pornography for sale except in the underground somewhere. 1953, it became a free speech issue. That led to things like the Bible being taken out of school, prayer being taken out of school, the Ten Commandments being taken out of school. Now you cannot even teach anything about biblical sexuality in schools. But you can bring in the most perverted people on earth to teach our kids about sexuality, based on these guys and their agenda all those years ago. The other guy, Harry Hay, his thing was to promote homosexual agenda. And then other disciples, I don't want to go into it all, but they wanted to promote no gender bias, so kids would be actually able to choose whether they're a boy or a girl. That's what's happening today, isn't it? The final goal is that America will accept pedophilia. Pedophilia means adults and children having sex. To do that, they have to get rid of the Judeo-Christian family. Their ultimate goal is get rid of the Judeo-Christian family, then anything goes. We can do whatever we want. So bit by bit, these people have been working on this agenda from the 1940s, and they are right on track. You just open the newspaper any day and you can see that these people are winning the war. It's horrendous. And America's basically asleep. So this is a cultural thing. You know, this guy, famous young actor, you know, he made a recent movie about pornography. So Jim and Joan make pornography or something. And the point is to make pornography so acceptable to our young people that nobody's shocked by it anymore. And he's saying, it's all mainstream. Everybody's doing it. Look, I'm dealing with a young couple who are now divorced, but a young second-generation couple. They, at the husband's insistence, they made a porn movie of themselves having sex. She didn't want to do it, but he insisted and forced her, and they made this porn movie just for us. Guess what? Later they got divorced. That movie is now on the internet. And this girl is suing him. She won't win, but that's the kind of stuff that goes on. And our young people do this thing called sexting. Not texting, sexting. They send pictures of themselves. Naked pictures or pictures of parts of their body and text it to each other. It's all over. Most of us are ignorant, like, what? What? It's huge. And you may have heard of this, 50 Shades of Grey. This is a series of books about perverted sex that became movies that has become totally the norm. I heard some women in our church talking about these books one day. And I said, that's pornography you're talking about. No, there's no pictures in it. Yeah, but it's stories of pornographic stuff. And they said, well, you shouldn't judge us. And then they made it into movies, very popular movies. Just total perversion, which has become part of our mainstream culture. This guy, anybody know who Stan Lee is? Stan Lee is the guy who writes the Marvel comic books. He and Hugh Hefner together are making comic books aimed at 4-year-old children. Comic books about sexuality to get kids interested in sex at 4 years old. Because bit by bit, they'll grow up wanting more and more and more and more. And to the point where, they don't want to have a relationship with a member of the opposite sex. They make these kind of comic books. In Japan, when I was in Japan with my wife earlier this year, for sale everywhere is these comic books. And you think, wow, that's comics. That's interesting. But they're pornographic. I was in the 7-Eleven type place, and, I see this young girl looking through, and I'm like, what? What's she looking at? It wasn't just regular funny comics. It was pornographic stuff. This guy, anybody know who he is? Young people should know who he is. John Mayer, he's a famous singer. He said, I don't need women anymore. All I need is pornography. I can get as many women as I want. They're all right there waiting for me. All I need to do is masturbate. I don't need regular sex. This is a famous guy teaching young people, we don't need the traditional way of meeting each other. We just have sex by ourselves. Sex by yourself, any sex outside of a relationship of husband and wife with your spouse's permission is off track. It's all, Father teaches us, right? Who's the owner of your sexual organ? Your spouse. So only your spouse can decide, not you. So anything that I'm doing by myself is a sin. It's off track. It's getting me away from God. So, there's certain myths that people have. Number one, it doesn't affect me. Hugh Hefner said, women are objects to be used by men, then discarded by man when they are finished. How does that make you feel, girls? You should be angry. You should be mad as hell. This guy said this 30 or 40 years ago. Women are just objects for men to use, and when you're finished, just toss them away. That's the culture we're living in. And it's becoming acceptable in our culture. I read this book called Pornified. The nation is becoming totally pornified. It means, insensitive that it's a problem. It's so much part of our culture, it's just part of it. We don't even recognize it's a problem anymore. And there's a person in it, a young man says, I can't believe what I'm becoming. I go around judging women. What he really says is, I go around judging women, would I have sex with that one or not? That's the judgment. All women fit into one or two categories, yes or no. That's how he said his mind had become. And he knows he's wrong, it's wrong, and he feels terrible, I'm out of control. Here's Father's words. I just found these the last couple of weeks. They even make it impossible for viewers. He's talking about the internet, the coming internet. I got to find out when he said this. They even make it impossible for viewers to engage in the original act of love, in healthy relationships as God intended. Many young people today are saying, I don't want to get married. I've got as much sex as I need right there on my phone. They don't even have to go in a laptop. They carry it around. If you've got a smartphone, you've got 42 million pornography sites right there. Most of the young people who I'm dealing with are doing pornography from their phone. That means, they're walking down the street, something pops in their head. Ooh, look at that. They go find a bathroom or somewhere, and there you go. And many people are doing it 3, 4, 5. I know one guy 7 times a day on a regular basis. And by the way, they're completely changing their physical body, what their physical body will respond to. Their physical body will no longer respond to a woman. It will only respond to my hand, if you know what I'm saying. So, the porn script that these pornography people talk about is sex is best experienced outside of marriage. That's what our culture teaches. If you look at movies, you look at TV, all the people having sex are outside of marriage. And these days on TV, every program must have homosexuals in it. And homosexual sex happening. So our young people are getting the message that the real sex takes place outside of marriage. There's no sense that inside of marriage is where good sex happens. All women want sex from men. This is the idea that they're promoting. Women really want sex, but they're just too afraid to say it. So if they won't say it, you know what you should do? You should force them. You should just make them, because you're really giving them what they want. Women like all the sexual acts men perform or demand. Any woman that says no can be persuaded with a little force. What does that mean? Rape. Myth number 2, I'll quit later. I already mentioned this. People think once I get married, it'll just go away. I wish I had $1 for every young person who told me that. I thought once I got married, it would just disappear. No, it disappears for about 6 months after marriage. And then, because it's an addiction, it comes back because I've trained myself when I'm frustrated, when I'm struggling, when I'm, depressed. What do? I go and relieve myself with pornography. And having sex with my wife isn't actually as exciting as pornography. So this addiction goes with them into marriage. And it's really messing the human brain. I don't want to go into a lot of discussion on this. And Caleb said he'd done some research. But you make pathways in your brain according to what you do. Something that is even dislikable, you can change your brain to like it. I'll give you an example. Cigarettes. Most people tried cigarettes when they were a teenager or whatever. I remember the only time I tried cigarettes, I coughed and coughed. And I tried it together with my brother, who also was, not into it. He ended up changing over time. He got more and more into it. Even though he hated it, he kept going. Today, he's addicted, been addicted all his life. I stopped because it was so horrible. But you understand what I'm saying? You can train your brain to like something that even you don't like at first. The pathways in your brain become fixed according to what you do. Unless you got Homer Simpson's brain, and then... So, again, your brain has all these neurons and pathways that get affected by what you do. The brain cannot figure out what is right and wrong. It only responds to what you put into it. So, when people are putting pornography in there, they're building pathways, neurons, synapses, that these are the things that make you want to go there again and again and again until you're addicted, like cigarettes. Cigarettes is a small addiction compared to pornography. I'm not equating them together. So you build these pathways in your brain. At first, that pathway wasn't there, right? How did it get there? 1 person, 2 people, 10 people, over time, until it becomes a permanent pathway. The grass doesn't grow there anymore. Now, can it grow back over that pathway? If nobody goes there, eventually nature will take it back. So the same with our brains. In time, you can reverse the problem. But it takes an incredible effort because you've built a pathway in your own brain according to this pornography. Okay. And the other thing is to do with chemicals. People are not addicted to pornography. They're addicted to the chemicals that come when you watch pornography. When you watch pornography, oxytocin is released. It's like a brain thing. I don't know, man, do you remember the first time you saw a porn picture? I can remember this clearly. My brother showed me a picture, a medical book, of a picture of a naked woman in a medical book. And I was like 14 years old, and I remember like, whoa. I can remember it now. I was 14, I'm 27 now, and it was a while ago. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. Sorry. Outstanding. So anyway, what people are getting addicted to is the chemical rush that comes from watching pornography. And just like with drugs, maybe in the beginning a little bit marijuana, but then, for many people marijuana becomes not enough. You want stronger marijuana, and then marijuana leads to what's next? Cocaine, heroin, like that. Pornography becomes like that. The simple stuff no longer gives you the release anymore. Looking at naked pictures is not enough. Now I need something more and more and more. And if you keep going, you can end up looking at all kinds of strange stuff. Sex between men and animals. Sex between 50 people at once. All kinds of stuff. It can go on and on because you need that rush of chemicals in your brain. So, all kinds of stuff with chemicals. In the interest of time, I won't go into. Myth number 3. You can do anything you like as long as you're not hurting anyone. That sounds like a good one, doesn't it? I'm not hurting anybody. Do you think somebody who's addicted to pornography is hurting anybody? Well, first of all, they're hurting themselves. They're seriously damaging themselves. They're hurting their relationship with God. How about their relationship to their spouse or their future spouse? How about their relationship to the person that they're watching? I always tell these young guys who come to me, what would you think if it was your mother or your sister that people were watching? How does that make you feel? Oh, disgusting. I said, you are watching somebody else's mother or sister who you're not supposed to be with. But that's what's happening. It does hurt people. It hurts your spirit. It also hurts our society. It's a very serious problem in our society. So you're hurting a lot. This is what women say who are married to porn addicts. I have no idea who he is anymore. This isn't the person I married. I feel like we've been living a lie. It's so shocking to find out. I feel like our whole marriage has been a sham. I thought we had a good marriage. Betrayal, loss, trust, devastation, anger, all these things come out. So, pornography is, they say the A's. It's accessible, affordable, and anonymous. That's why people do it. It's accessible, it's everywhere. All you need is an internet connection. It's affordable. You know how much it costs? Free. I've never yet met one person who's paying for pornography. All the young people I know, nobody's paying. How do the porn sites make money? Just like Google and other things, every time you click, advertisements and other things have to pay. So the average person doesn't need to pay for pornography. It's free. So it's very affordable. And it's anonymous, apparently. Nobody knows I'm doing it. Except, what did I say earlier? God knows you're doing it. Satan knows you're doing it. And you know you're doing it. And usually if you're married, the other person knows there's something going on, even if they don't know what exactly it is. There's a fourth A that I add to these three. Accessible, affordable, anonymous. And the last one is, it's addictive. It gets you addicted, so you cannot stop. And when you get addicted, you become a lifetime customer. Time magazine, has had a few really good articles. There was one earlier this year about porn. But it's like a drop in the bucket. We really need to pray for those people who are suffering with this problem. But prayer alone is not enough. We need action. We need action for anybody who's struggling with this. The only way somebody will overcome, I'll say it again, is by bringing it out of the shadows. By finding somebody to hold you accountable. That's the only way it gets resolved. To do it by yourself is next to impossible. Father's words. The purity of students is being destroyed. The influence of the internet is terrible. How can we remedy this situation? Mothers and fathers everywhere have to protect their children because parents represent the position of God. We have to be educated ourselves, at least to know what our children or grandchildren are going to go through. And we have to protect them. And anybody who's struggling with this must get help with it. You must. If there's anybody struggling here today, I will help you to overcome this. I guarantee I can help you. But I cannot help if it's hidden. If it's in the shadows, it doesn't get helped. So we have to get clean, get educated, get involved, get together with concerned people. We have to get protected. We have to protect our children. Here's some websites that are very helpful for people. You can put blocks on your computer or on your cell phone that'll stop a lot of this porn traffic from coming through. But, the problem is our young people know how to get around this stuff. You put this on and then they get around it. They know, the only way to deal with this is to come clean and to confess. Confess, repent, pay indemnity. Confess, repent, pay indemnity. That's how we clean things up. We also have to clean up our ancestors who are bothering us. It may not just be your own, personal stuff. Your ancestors, and certainly our culture is huge. Now, this Set Free Summit that I went to, they got together and they put pressure. This is just a drop in the ocean, but they put pressure on the Marriott, Sheraton, and Hilton hotels. And those three hotels decided to remove pornography from their hotel rooms. It used to be you could go there and pay for pornography, but now you cannot. They took it out because of the pressure from these people. When righteous people work together and decide to do something, we can make a change. And here's the final point for me, why I was hopeful. I was at this conference, and I heard everything they had to say. They had some magnificent things to say. I got so much beautiful material, books and DVDs and courses. The thing that was missing was the principal viewpoint of sexuality. Do you think Father ever had anything to say about sex? A little bit, right? Yeah, it's up to us to bring Father's viewpoint, which is God's original viewpoint about sex. And look at this. Here's why I'm hopeful. Christianity. How did Christianity take over the Roman Empire? The Roman Empire was collapsing on the inside from sex problems. There was so much sex going on that one emperor banned public kissing because so much sexual disease was being spread by kissing. It was that out of control. And all of the leaders had homosexual relationships for pleasure, and then they had a wife for making children. And it was so rampant. Homosexuality, divorce, sexual disease, all the things that we see today. But this presented a golden opportunity for Christianity, because Christianity was holding to the teachings of Jesus of purity and making good families. So Christianity shined in this dark world. And here's what happened. The leadership of the Roman Empire, they wanted the best for their children, so they would get their own children married to Christians. Because they didn't trust anybody else, so they married the Christians. Then their children and grandchildren become Christians, and bit by bit, the Roman Empire turned and was totally won over by Christianity. Out of dark and miserable, terrible things, God can work. And I believe the opportunity is there today for a principled response to this problem. And the principled response will win over people beyond their religious teachings. Because it's common sense and it's based on God's original standard. It's up to us, unificationists, to put that material together, the True Father's teachings on absolute sex, in a way that is better than what's out there. We cannot be teaching absolute sex in the false way. I'm sorry, but H2's teaching on absolute sex is wrong. What he's teaching is all women should want to have sex with Father. That's his teaching. But the great teaching of True Father on what is God's original sexuality and the purpose of marriage and ideal families has to get out to this society. This is how we're going to win over America, I believe. That's why I'm hopeful. Even though it's so dark, out of the darkness, light can come. Aju? Thank you. Questions? Any questions? Yes.
Could you say a little bit about Pure Mind Online?
Pure Mind Online is a website. Thank you. I should have said that. This man, David Wolfenberger, in Seattle, started something called the Blessed Marriage Project. And he's funding this thing to help our blessed couples get together for marriage retreats so they can have a joyful marriage. And out of that, he got interested in this porn issue, and he is funding a site made by John Williams, our brother, called puremind.online. Is it on there? Yeah, puremind.online. This is our church website. To deal with this issue. So it's just getting started, and a lot of work and effort has gone into it. But please check this out, puremind.online. And puremind.online is sponsoring for any unificationist a subscription to a, what do they call it, a pornography monitor that you can put on your electronics. So it won't stop things, but it'll alert you if somebody has been watching pornography. And it usually costs quite a bit of money, but our church members are sponsoring this for anybody who wants it. You can download this. It's called Covenant Eyes. Covenant Eyes. If you go to Pure Mind Online, and through there you go to Covenant Eyes, you can download this onto all your electronics. Then if anybody in your family watches pornography, you get a notice. And this is a way of also showing accountability. There's a few people who were at the conference with us in North Carolina, took this, and now they're using me as their accountability with this software. So I get reports from them every week. Did they watch pornography or not? So this is free, sponsored by our church members. I recommend you go check this website out, Pure Mind Online. Yes?
In your research, do you find any different cultures, specific to any culture or another?
This is tough for me to say, but in our church, I have never had a Japanese person or a Korean person come and tell me they have a problem. Now, either they're more pure than the rest of us, or more likely it's more of a shame thing and a culture thing. And I've had a number of wives of Asian husbands who know that their husbands are doing it, tell me. But, I'm not looking to shame anybody. I'm looking to make a culture of acceptance where there is no shame. Nobody's going to put a spotlight on anybody and say, oh, you're struggling. I think maybe you're doing pornography. Not like that. To overcome, you have to willingly want to bring it out. But yeah, there is some cultural issues. I don't know yet how to break through that, but it's an issue. I am hoping that as time goes on and people see that it's safe, that's the main thing, people feel it's safe, more and more people will bring it out of the closet. Is everybody so shocked at what I said? Everybody looks like deer in the headlights. What did he just say? You understand now why I find this so serious? So serious. I caught two of my sons, both of them when they were about 12 years old, looking at pornography. And thank God I caught them. Both of them today will tell you the best thing that happened to them was that I caught them. And I didn't freak out. And I didn't, go crazy on them. I sat them down and I started, talking to them. But both of them say that they're so grateful that they got caught. Because if they didn't get caught, they would have just kept on going. And by getting caught, they both stopped. But, so many people don't get caught. And again, these days with smartphones, you can do it anywhere. Anywhere.
I'm not sure if this was recorded today or not, but do you have a recording of your presentation that somehow could be accessed? Or if not,
Yeah, I do.
I request that you do one so that we can make it available?
Yeah, I did record it. I made a video of it, but I wasn't really thrilled with it. But it is available. But it's always developing for me. I'm always doing more researches. I'm learning more, but people have got to have an openness, a willingness themselves. You cannot force people, to deal with this. You have to want to deal with it.
Or we have to start with some education and
Yeah,
just like you're doing.
yeah. People need to know the
About
facts.
50 of you to fly you around the country.
Yeah, also you said about
Yeah.
And I got really put down, that he just it pushed me in the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad my wife didn't catch him. I don't know what she would have done, you know. He may not be alive today. But yeah, it's very important that we emphasize how serious it is, but however, you're not a bad person. You're doing something bad, but you're not a bad person. But yeah, it's easy to freak out. Inside, I wanted to freak out. I wanted to slap them around the room, you know. But then I asked my son, how did you get to that? Oh, a kid at school showed me. That's what happens often, you know, somebody at school. Is that how you first discovered it, Caleb? Can't remember, so long ago. And by the way, most of the kids, when somebody comes to me for help, I have a questionnaire list that I make. And I give it to them, and it makes them think through. When did you first see pornography? What was the circumstances? Almost all of them, 12, 13, 14. Some a few years younger, some a few years later, but the vast majority, 12 to 14. That's the age our kids are getting addicted. And as I said earlier, more and more girls are getting addicted. For years, I never had a girl. I never even thought of a girls getting addicted. But that's not the case anymore. I now have 3 girls who I'm dealing with. 2 of them are married.
Has there been any work to try to get to the people who are making the films, who are making the pornography films?
Well, has there been any work? The best way to go after them is with the law. You're not going to appeal to their conscience. Having said that, maybe you are, because, you know, in one of these research studies that we heard about in North Carolina, they found that only a small percentage of people in the porn industry, I'm talking about the actors, would remain in the industry if they had a choice. They're held in the industry by force. In other words, they bring people from another country, they confiscate their passport, they put them on drugs, they're addicted to drugs. There's many ways that they force them into. Pornography and sex trafficking are like hand in a glove. They fit together. Pornography is the fuel of the sex industry. So, again, the people who are doing this are doing it for money, and it's big, big money. What we have to do is enforce the laws. We don't need to change the laws. The laws are already in place in America that you can't distribute pornography. You cannot, it's illegal. But the government will never go after pornography people. They view it as a low priority, not even interesting. Really, they're not interested at all. There's nothing in it for the government. That's why across the country, religious people need to pester their politicians until they understand this is what we want you to deal with. The laws are already there. This Mormon girl, amazing. She was teaching us, you know, she's a lobbyist in D.C., and she was almost begging us, get involved, because these laws are there, but nobody takes any notice of them. So appealing to the movie makers is a long shot. But fighting fire with fire is the way to go. And like I say, all sex trafficking is linked to pornography. And you know, in prisons, for instance, 97% of men in prison are addicted to pornography. Oh yeah, kidding me? You can get anything in prison. And were addicted before going into prison. So it's not just the pornography, it leads to a sneaky lifestyle. A criminal type lifestyle, if you're not careful. It can lead into other things. Yeah. Male inmates. I'm not sure women. Okay. I emailed to Reverend Du 4 or 5 handouts. You can get from him. There's a little bit information in there. But as a parent, you need to educate your children from early on, as young as possible, about in appropriate language. You can teach your children about good pictures and bad pictures. You don't have to explain all about sex. But also you need to create an atmosphere where your children know if you see something on the internet and you don't, and it strikes you or you don't like it, turn it off and come and tell me. And you got to create an atmosphere of trust where your children can feel like, if I go to mommy or daddy, I'm not going to get attacked. I can trust them, and that kind of atmosphere from a very early age. If your children are already over the age of 14, 15, you need to teach them directly. Pornography, you need to give them the talk. Pornography will ruin your life. You have to watch out for it. And you're going to meet kids in high school. One of our church members in the Bay Area, he's a vice principal at a middle school. And he's in charge of discipline. And he said on a weekly basis, he has to send home 4, 5, 6 middle school students because they're watching pornography in school. And he says, I send them home, and sometimes the parents are like, what's the problem? It's freedom of speech. What's the problem? So it's that much in our society. If your children are sleeping over at somebody's house, you want to know that that family is on top of this situation. You don't want your children to be sleeping at somebody's house where, this might be happening in the household. And you got to monitor who their friends are. And you got to make an atmosphere where the children will tell you if somebody comes and shows them things. And I'm telling you, the age they're trying to get people is younger and younger and younger. So our kids are going to see pornography. Absolutely going to. The question is, what will their reaction be when they see it? And it's not wrong for them to be curious. Right? It's perfectly normal as a teenager. You're wondering, what is this sex stuff? But if they get exposed to the wrong kind of sex, it messes up their life. It messes up their sexual chemistry and the new pathways, and then the way they look at the opposite sex as an object. Many, many things like that. Really becomes a mess. You have to find the people in this city who are against this. You have to build coalitions with people. You have to find other churches that are concerned about this. We have to build up the network of people. We cannot fight this by ourselves. But there are politicians who are righteous, but they need backing. There are religious groups who are surely working on this issue. Let's find them and work together with them. And it's not find them, let's find them to witness to them. Let's find them to work with them and deal with this problem together. Actually, our members shine out naturally when we get involved in things. But yeah, there are people who are concerned, but they probably feel like I felt, I'm alone in this. Nobody even cares. A lot of, people are like that. If you cannot find such groups, make such groups. We got to get active with this situation. And Las Vegas, of course, is, the capital of a lot of this problem. Not the only one by any means. Oakland, California is the capital of sex trafficking in America. A lot of, children abducted and forced into prostitution. Happens a lot. One. Me, myself, and I. The Holy Trinity. Well, like I say, 40 of us went to this conference. And a number of them really got excited to do something. So some of our second generation are now getting real education. Some of them are getting certified in being a counselor and a trainer in helping people. So it's growing. It's growing bit by bit, and hopefully will grow even more. And now that maybe one or two of you might want to get excited and get yourself educated. There's tons of good material on the internet. Lots of good books. There's also good books about how to talk to your children. Just go to Amazon and type in how to talk to your children about pornography. You'll find 50 books. And then you got to read them and figure out, how do I engage my children. It's scary, I know. You don't want to do it. That's not talk about children. You know, it's like the talk about sex. We have to do it as parents. You know, don't. In my son's case, my oldest son, my wife finally pushed me. You got to tell him about sex. So I sat him down and I said, well, Oliver, I need to talk to you about sex. He said, yeah, what do you want to know? It was too late. He already knew more than I did. I thought he did anyway. That's our responsibility as a parent. The father's quote.
Also,
Back there somewhere.
one really important thing is that in the schools today in North America, our kids are being taught about sex as early as grade 3 or younger. And it's not good. We pulled our kids out of that, but guess what? You pull them out of the class and they hear about it on the playground, on the street, so that doesn't help. So it's really important as parents that we talk to them when they're really young and age appropriate to raise them up. There's another book, and probably there are a lot of links on the Pure Mind online by now. I haven't checked recently, but there's another Christian book called 30 Days, you know what?
30 talks in 30 days.
Talks in 30 days about how to teach children, and there are different levels for different ages. So that, I downloaded that, and it's a pretty good book as a guideline for us to teach our kids about absolute sex. So Pure Mind online is a really good place to start.
There's a lot of free resources. You don't have to spend a lot of money. There's a lot of, another very good group that is fighting against pornography is a group called Fight the New Drug. This is a Mormon group. And we met the guy who started that. He made a lot of money in his 20s, and then he wanted to do something with his money. So he decided, this is what I'm going to do. He began teaching young people. So his website and his approach is very, very good for young people. You know, his idea was, unless you're cool, kids are not going to listen. You got to know how to reach the kids in a way that they will listen. So his stuff is very, very good. Fight the New Drug. I recommend that. But there's many that I could recommend. You just need to fish around a little bit for the good stuff that's there. But as John said, start with Pure Mind Online. There's a lot of good resources there.
What's your email address?
My email address, maybe Reverend Do, when he sends it out, he can put my email address also, and my phone number. Yeah, you know, people my age, I'm now thinking about grandchildren. My kids aren't thinking, but I'm thinking about grandchildren. And, you know, if you've got children still at home, you are responsible for them. And for my grandchildren, you know, it's only going to get more and more pervasive everywhere. So I got to be more vigilant, more on top of it, so that, you know, so that they're given a chance in life. This thing will derail them from reaching their potential as wonderful people. And so as a grandparent, I want to be ready for that.
I mean, there's young people who are, you know, money laundering this money that comes from pornography. I mean, it's really a giant, and how much we have to be concerned as we fight this.
Well, you are dealing with organized crime, but, you know, we are dealing with an organized general organizational director, God. So, you know, it's serious business. That's why we need to be in collaboration with others. You know, the people who put on the conference we went to spent a lot of money. You know, the guy I mentioned early on, you know, Josh McDowell spent $400,000 of his own money. And another guy who made the software program, Covenant Eyes, his wife and children were killed in an accident, and he got $2 million pay, you know, insurance pay, and he put all of that money into making this software. So there are heroes who are, you know, fighting this, people with money and influence And we need to be in collaboration with them. And by the way, you need to talk with Caleb. Caleb's been doing a lot of research on this issue, right? So you live here in Vegas? No, he does. So discuss with Caleb how you can work together to reach out to other people. He's a resource for you guys to use also. Okay, thank you.